Hi there, it's Zach. Um, so for my research project, I wanted to specifically look at romantic relationships, and I wanted to look at conflict in romantic relationships. Um, as I've shared before, I signed up for this program because I eventually want to be a therapist, and I have a lot of curiosity specifically around working with couples. I grew up around a lot of dysfunctional relationships as a kid, and I know I've had a lot of curiosity around the way they work ever since. So this is a really passionate topic for me. And so in narrowing down this project, I kind of came to this curiosity around how we construct conflict narratives and what is the significance of whether or not these narratives align, and does that connect at all to romantic relationship satisfaction? Um, and bringing it back to conflict in relationships, conflict's unavoidable. All interpersonal relationships are going to have this, and being able to navigate conflict is going to lead to better relationship satisfaction and quality. And one study I found was talking about um, kind of the most prevalent points of conflict between couples. And number one was communication, which I found very interesting, considering in order to manage conflict, you need good communication skills. So kind of looking at how we communicate around conflict, again, is really important. And so, and kind of bring it back to this narrative alignment question I had, the first thing I wanted to think about was how each person in a relationships understands conflict in their own words, or how does an individual communicate to themselves their side of the conflict. Um, and so in my research, uh, one thing that kept coming up was this theory called narrative identity, which is based in personality psychology. And essentially, what narrative identity says is it explains how people construct internal narratives of their own lives to create meaning. Um, and so and one of the studies I found, it talked about how, an individual's perception of a life event can shape their overall well-being. So not just what happened, but how we perceive what happens. And and so this field of study has um, mostly looked at individuals. However, I was able to find that a lot of researchers in this field have started to advocate for its use to study romantic relationships. And so, in looking at the limited research in this emerging field, one of the studies in particular that I found concluded that the narratives couples are co-creating together about their relationship may actually lead to their ability to display secure attachments, and how a couple perceives their relationship can impact their relationship satisfaction. So again, it's this idea that not only is what happens and what we do in our relationship happen, but how we perceive and think about our relationship as well. And another thing that I found that was interesting was a lot of this work in this field has primarily done interviews of couples together, and there hasn't been a lot of studies of the individual narratives we have while in a couple. And so this is kind of where it kind of comes back to this idea of narrative alignment. Specifically, one of the studies I found asked this question and trying to understand, like, what is the importance of narrative alignment for overall relationship growth? And so I wanted to apply this idea specifically to conflict narratives. And I hypothesized that conflict narrative alignment is going to lead to better conflict management outcomes. This is kind of the first step in kind of resolving these conflicts, is getting on the same page with your partner. And so, yeah, for my study, I'm going to be using a mixed methods approach. And the first thing I'll be doing is recruiting participants. So right now I'm kind of going with the idea of advertising on several subreddits that focus on relationships. I've kind of looked at a few already, and this seems to be a thing that fellow other researchers have done that study couples. Yeah, I'll be looking for about 2 to 3 couples to interview about 2 specific instances of conflicts that arose in their relationship. It's really important that I get a couple to share the same conflicts they had. And I wanted to do 2 to kind of just increase the amount of data I have. And so once I have my participants, I'll schedule the interviews. And again, I'll be conducting these interviews with each member of the couple separately. And I'll be asking, the couples to share the 2 predetermined instances of conflict. The interviews themselves are going to include open-ended questions, and it's going to be based in narrative inquiry. The interview questions are going to be geared to give participants ample opportunity to share how they construct the narrative of the conflict. And then once I have all these interviews complete, I'll transcribe and code the interviews, specifically looking to identify points of corroboration and contradiction. And so based off the frequency of corroboration and contradiction, participants are going to receive a score that indicates the degree of alignment between conflict narratives. And yeah, I'm also going to be administering a survey. I think before the interviews are conducted, and I plan on using it's called the Relationship Assessment Scale. And this is a survey that essentially measures relationship satisfaction. It's like a 7-question survey. And so once I have all my data, I'm going to compare the alignment scores with the relationship satisfaction scores and try to determine whether or not there is a correlation there or a connection. And yeah. And so, yeah, kind of in conclusion, kind of bringing it back to the limited research that's been done already. It's just, I think this is a really important study and field of research because, the narratives that we create with our romantic partners has shown to, greatly impact the quality of our relationships. And if conflict narrative alignment can lead to better conflict management outcomes, I think that this could help couples identify patterns of communication that no longer serve them and to be able to empower them to create better ones. So